to HTTPS. But I mean, we as a media company in India, basically, they actually anyone don't have any kind of these kind of websites that is secured version. So I mean, is it really necessary to have HTTPS version?
Right. So I think what we are seeing is people are moving towards being more secure online, and I think HTTPS thing will definitely catch up. And going forward, you will see more and more HTTPS versions of websites than HTTP, because of course it is secure, and there are also some myths around that it is not fast enough as HTTP, and there may be some latency issues and things like that. But I think that is not the case. The technology has evolved very much. And as far as the Google ranking goes, that definitely is one of the signals we look at, right? Of the 200 plus signals that we have, we also see, because it is important for us as well to provide a safe user experience on Google search to our users, right? So that is why we have started considering HTTPS as one of the signals. So I think you should definitely consider moving to HTTPS. It doesn't matter if your competitors or other people in the space are doing or not. What I personally think is eventually everybody will move to HTTPS. And it is not just about businesses. Users, I'm sure users will also appreciate that, because they feel secure and they feel safe while they are on your website, you know. So that's
yeah, the thing is, like, we are a media company. I'm like, we don't have any kind of that much kind of information that required that much of security. I mean, that was if e-commerce site, I can understand. I mean, they have to buy something there, but in our website, they're just going through the content piece, most of the parts. I mean, the news and everything. So I just.
So the problem with HTTP is it is not just about you know, user data or login information or account information, or that it is only applicable to e-commerce type websites. But the problem is when the traffic is on HTTP and not secured, then anybody can intercept the traffic and, you know, read the data. For example, if I'm using a lot of non-HTTPS websites, then if somebody could hack into my router or into my network, then they will know the entire activity of mine, like what I did throughout the day, what websites I saw, what articles I read, and things like those, right? So it is not just about user data residing on your website, but it is about the traffic as well. So this is HTTPS basically is applicable to all types of websites, be it just a blog or an e-commerce website or interactive tool or whatever.
All right. Yeah. All right.
So, apart from those, what are your concerns while using HTTPS?
So I mean, I don't know. That is something our management call. We are also suggesting this thing to management, and basically to go with the HTTPS. But they, I mean, they're saying, I mean, there has to be some cost involved this thing, and plus, I mean, other manpower as well. I mean, some technicals ground as well. So they are asking, I mean, like, what is the benefit of going with HTTPS? So I mean, that's we have to convince them to basically, I mean, like this is just something like going forward. I mean, like Google suggesting this thing, and everybody is going to move in that particular direction. So I mean, and we should also go with that thing. So I mean, it's just that management is something like saying key why this and why that. So just for that, for sake, I just want asking that whether it is good to move to HTTPS or not. So that's a concern.
I think user safety is obviously like the topmost concern there, and also you can just tell them that, you know, pretty much everyone is trying to move to HTTPS right now. Like Facebook, Twitter, every URL is like HTTPS, and like on technical sides, if you like, at least from Google's perspective, if you make sure your canonicals and, you know, the tags and links are done perfectly, then there's nothing you should worry about. And even performance wise, apart from like a few small minor issues, then if it's implemented correctly, there's no reason you'll suffer in performance also.
Okay.
I think as users also I mean, become aware of the importance of HTTPS and how they can be tracked if they are using non-HTTPS websites, then I think they will also realize that, okay, this website may not be as secure as the other websites in this space, right? So yeah, this is something definitely going to catch up. So I think you should be prepared.
All right, all right. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
So we'll first take the question in chat from Shailendra and then go for the Q&A app question. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Shailendra's question is, okay, you're saying two pages have the same content and canonical refers to the page itself, yet they rank in search engines. Is it because they have been targeted to different geographical locations? If so, still the content is the same. So basically, there are two pages, the content is the same, and do you mean like one page says the other one is canonical?
No, it's one and the same page. The canonical refers to the page itself, not the other, not the master page.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry. In both the pages, like the canonical refers to the page itself instead of like
Yeah.
the correct page. But and both of them are ranking.
So sorry.
So generally, even if you don't put up rel sorry, generally even if you don't put up rel canonical tags, we're somewhat good at identifying if two pages are identical and trying to rank only one page.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there are some cases where like it takes some time for Google to look at that and process the information and select a canonical.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, like if it's your URLs, you can just fix it by simply selecting the correct URL. Sorry, I'm muting.
Actually, am I audible first?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
actually.
Okay. Actually, the thing is, this is a if you open this URL, it's a big brand. Okay. So what they have done, they have reached a multilingual site targeted to different regions. Okay. And the content is quite similar except some geographical difference like the address of US and the address of India and some grammatical
Okay.
things. Okay, but the content is exactly the same, and the canonical tag should refer to the master page. That is the page, the thing that it's the master page and it should rank. But in this case, the canonical refers to the page itself. So each page has a canonical tag that refers to the same page, not the master page. Now that's quite confusing for me to why they have
So
done this.
what I'd suggest is like I mean instead of if it's geographically targeted, generally the tag to use is href flag, not canonical, right? I
Okay.
mean in that case we'll most probably if there are no other similar pages, we'll most probably ignore the canonical because it's pretty much saying this is the only page that's existing and this is the only page that has the same content. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens is if you use hreflang tags, we'll basically show the UK version when people are searching in like EN UK, ENGB, and when people are searching in ENIN, we'll show the ENIN version. So
Mm-hmm.
like we'll keep both pages indexed because obviously the addresses are different, and that's what the person intends to show the users also, right?
Yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
is actually
Okay.
4.3. Your version is like workshop. Yeah, major. It's 4.73. Yes, yes. I have the older version. Actually, it's 3. So I have to upgrade this. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, we got disconnected. Can you hear us now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, really sorry about that. So what I meant to say was when you have because sort of some people have ENIN, AU, and ENUS. So they'll even with the text itself or just what they want to show, they'll have different pages for Australia and US and India.
Mm-hmm.
Here, like obviously the only thing that's changing is the address, but even if that's the change, it's still like a relevant change for both locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the webmaster intends to have, and I can't check the tag right now, but if he has an hreflang tag implemented properly, we'll show the correct version in England and the Indian version in India.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I didn't see the href link tag
If it's not there, I mean, maybe we're just trying to pick it by ourselves, and because the address is in India, we'll try and show the proper version. But if the sometimes obviously if the tags are not implemented, we also may show just one version in both locations.
So because they have some I'm sure they might have targeted it in Google Webmaster Tools, the geographical target, and they have some parameters on their page that differentiate the US and the British and the Indian pages. So Canonical is just your signal, and if it's the those parameters have strong, they have strong affiliation, so you may override the Canonical, right?
Yeah. So again, canonical is at the end of the day some guideline that you give us, right? You tell us that this is my root page and these are like the similar pages that you should show in different locations. This is like my page that's the default, and these are like the pages that you should show for other locations.
Okay. Okay.
But sorry, I'm just muting.
Like sharper, it's time taking. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have if that's implemented properly, and it makes sense with our other signals like the redirects and stuff that we see, then we'll take it into account. But if there are contradicting signals, say you're redirecting page A to B, but you have A as the canonical, so you're saying A is my page, but the user is actually seeing B at the end. So we don't want to. In that case, we'll probably ignore your canonical version, and we'll go with what's the most user-friendly version.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I'll just go to Q&A app. But before that, any of you guys have any more live questions?
Yeah, even mine is wide. Yeah, I need this.
I'll just mute you for a second, Sharon. Okay. First, we'll take a question from Andrew. His question is, how can I improve mobile serve for my websites? This is, yeah, we've been answering these questions for quite some time. So mobile, it's pretty much like, you're basically asking how can I improve mobile ranking. It's just go mobile friendly. We've published tons of resources over the past month, and we've had quite a few hangouts. You can just go back to either John Mueller's hangouts or Pierre's hangouts or our hangouts. We have answered a lot of questions around mobile. So just go through all the information, like make sure your page is mobile friendly. Of course, we also have a tool that we launched just to check if your site is mobile friendly or not. But it obviously doesn't stop there, right? So you have to make sure the content is relevant to your users, and if you can just check in Webmaster Tools or your analytics on if it's not ranking well, why aren't certain pages ranking well, and fix the content there. Of course, even if your site is mobile friendly, if the content doesn't make much sense, it probably won't rank, because at the end of the day, relevancy is like key. Anything to add?
Yeah, so I think primarily two things. First of all, again, going back to basics, provide good content and user experience to users. And while you're doing that, ensure that your website is mobile friendly. So we have this mobile friendly testing tool. Put in your URL there and see if it is passes that test or not. And then we have a couple of other tools within your Webmaster Tools, the usability, mobile usability tool. Use that to look out for any problems and fix them. So I think if you can do these two things thoroughly, then you're good to go.
Okay, we'll take the next question. Do we need to update mobile sitemap separately?
I didn't get this question entirely. If Yogendra wants to ask that if they have to basically they need a separate mobile website, well, of course you can do that. If you have a mobile website and there are tons of URLs, then you can create a separate mobile website wherein you can list all your mobile website URLs and whatever metadata they have and things like those. So Yogendra, if you're there, if you can clarify a little bit on your question, probably we can take it from there.
Okay, but like in general, like if you have a default sitemap that you're submitting to Webmaster Tools, the only concern is as long as you mark up all the content, all the URLs properly, you just have to make sure all the URLs that you've marked up are verified in Webmaster Tools. So if you have abc.com and you have m.abc.com URLs, you just need to make sure you've verified m.abc also. So that's the only concern. But if you're implementing the other say if you're implementing mobile sitemap or video sitemaps, then then you're basically, in the head top tag itself, you're mentioning xmlns colon mobile or whatever. And in that case, you can't include desktop or other URLs in a mobile sitemap, because we are pretty much considering that as mobile URLs, and we'll ignore non-mobile URLs in those sitemaps. So basically, in default sitemap, you can have any URL as long as it's verified. In specialized sitemaps like mobile, video, image, you need to have only those relevant URLs. And yeah, it is, if you want to implement a mobile sitemap separately for convenience, you can do that. It's completely fine. Okay. Patrick has a question: how can I improve mobile for local serve? So this is pretty much the same question as before, and yeah, even for local serve or any, like, obviously when we're talking only about search results, not local results or places. So we speak primarily for search. So that side, like, I mean, apart from making sure your listing is like well done, we don't know anything else. But for search results, at least, it's the same thing that we answered previously. So yeah, you can unmute yourself, Shailendra.
I'm in the habit of using GoToMeeting, so I thought, okay. So my next question is, as far as we know, the website and search engine crawling and everything, indexing, ranking. So content is quite important. The text content is quite important for a website. Okay, but in the mobile websites, I may decide, or the management may decide, that we don't want a text content-rich website. Rather, we want a site with the visual appeal, with some videos and simple call to actions. So we may have less text content, but but the images and videos in the website. So how good it is from search engine point of view to have such kind of strategy implemented in a mobile website?
It's completely fine. So see, when people are searching for text related content, we'll obviously want to show, like, if they're searching for articles or something, we want to show that relevant information, right? We can't show, say, unless you've marked up, you've added good descriptions for videos. So the thing with videos is, when we want to index videos, there are three things that we definitely need. One is a thumbnail, another one is a title, and the third one is description. So when you're having videos, you probably will explain in the description what the video is about, and if that matches with the query, and obviously if there are some good links to your page saying, this guy has a video on, say, cars, and people are searching for it, and there's no reason why we wouldn't link it, and why we wouldn't show it in top results if it's relevant.
So when you say the title and description, you mean the title and the meta description, or some other video description?
No, meta. So meta title and meta description for the particular video. So in sitemaps, or generally in sitemaps, when you submit the video, we need a good title and description and a thumbnail for that particular video. Only then will we index it. So by the way, we index the page in any case. I'm talking about indexing the video itself. So we have a, like, you've seen in search results, like, apart from the text results, you also get video results, right? Without the snippet itself is the video. So if you want your video to be indexed there, we definitely need a good thumbnail and title and description.
Okay.
So, like, if obviously we're not good enough to crawl through a video and see what content it is. We're not at that stage yet. So we definitely need descriptions to understand what the video is about, so that we can serve it. Excuse me. Okay. Ken has a question on app indexing. About app indexing is a ranking signal. Official statement tells we are starting to use app indexing as a ranking signal for all users on Android. Does it affect Android users who are logged out from Google account? So if you've seen our blog post, you notice that we are trying to show apps that you haven't even installed. So say if you're searching for Bradley Cooper in Google search, we'll show a Wikipedia result with open in app, and even if you haven't installed a Wikipedia app, you can get to open that particular page and then install the app and then see that. So we're trying to as long as an app has implemented app indexing, we will show it for all users as long as it's relevant, even if you haven't installed it. Does that make sense? So even if you have logged out from Google account, you can see the open in app option. Just have to at that point log in. I hope that you can just post another question if you want some follow up there, Ken.
Ashish, I just want to follow up on this question basically. I mean, if someone is not installed that particular app, let's say Wikipedia or maybe any other app that's present in the search results. I mean that Google still shows me that open in app kind of thing. So I mean, if I'm not installed any this particular app, let's say Wikipedia app or something like that. So I'm searching for any entity or something like that. Let's say I mean Barack Obama. So I mean, does Google show me that to option to click open in app something like that?
Yeah, even if you haven't installed Wikipedia, you can open that particular result in, we'll sort of, what happens is we'll show a web result with Barack Obama, and then maybe maybe two results down or maybe above that even we'll get a Barack Obama open in app option.
Basically, if you don't have the app installed, then you would have an option to install that app.
Okay.
Right from the search results page.
All right.
Right. Right. And if you have that app installed, then you can actually directly go to that page within the app.
Sure, sure. All right.
So how app indexing is implemented is when you basically need to create intent filters in your Android app, and you're basically saying this web page corresponds to this particular spot in the app, right? And once you do that, we'll crawl those pages in your app, and we'll index them in search. So we have we obviously, since we are using your web results based on that relevancy, we'll serve your app pages also for when people are searching on Android devices.
Okay.
Since we've already answered this question, I'll just. Okay. Sunil has a question: how to create 5,000 URL sitemap? So. In your question, you can actually, in your sitemap, you can actually add up to 50,000 URLs, and you can submit up to 50,000 sitemaps in your in Webmaster Tools, I think. So, sorry, you can submit. You can basically have an index sitemap with 50,000 links to the other 50,000 sitemaps. So you can have 50,000 into 50,000 URLs in total if you want to. But yeah, in one sitemap you can submit up to 50,000 URLs. So yeah,
how to create a sitemap?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, his question is like how to create that particular sitemap with 5,000 URLs.
Right. So there are tons of tools externally available. We had a tool. Google also had a tool to create sitemap, but that is not being actively updated right now. But otherwise, there are tons of tools that are there available online that you can use to auto-generate sitemaps on your website. So it should be pretty easy if you use those tools, and this process will be like automatic.
Okay, so can I ask another question? I mean, it's no questions left here. So yeah, so the question I just want to ask, I mean, like how Google is actually considering, I mean, the comments present on the page, basically the user-generated content that is present on the page, and Google crawls it. I mean, whether it is good for a page or not. So there are times it happens when the negative comments are coming and they're not might be good for the business or maybe for the content itself. They might be not relevant for the context. But still, I mean, that Google at some places says you should block those particular comments. And I mean, they just want to understand whether to have these particular content section, I mean, basically the comment section to be crawlable or not.
Okay, so if we understood your question correctly, you are basically saying if you have a blog and then you have under that blog there is a comment section and people are posting all types of comments there. Some comments may be negative, some comments may be positive, some comments may be spam.
Yeah.
How do you I mean as a webmaster manage those comments? Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I think Google very well recognizes a comment section as a just that, meaning a comment section, meaning the primary content of the page would be that blog post.
Yeah.
Of course, right? And the comments will be treated as comments. And Google is definitely very good at, identifying any spam and spammy links within those comments. And we may treat those links as the same. You as a webmaster, what you can do is basically ensure that you get genuine comments, not spammy automated comments in your website. Maybe you can install something like reCAPTCHA, right, to ensure real users are actually engaging on your pages. And also whenever you see some kind of spammy comments in your posts, it is a good idea to generally delete those, right? That may not have a negative impact on your ranking in Google search if there are one-off cases where you have spammy comments on your post, because Google recognizes that. However, it may not be a very good user experience for your users, right? When users are reading comments and in between they suddenly find spammy comments, and some may not recognize those as spammy comments, because some are very generic comments and things like those. So for that sake, it is a good idea for you to maintain your comment section. Otherwise, otherwise I think unless you have tons of spammy comments coming in, that is not something to be worried about too much.
Okay, the thing is like, from the search engine roundtable itself, the page of that particular website is like has been penalized, or maybe he observed the drip in the ranking because of the comment section. John itself told him basically that is the quality of the page is not really high because of the comment section. So if that is the case, we should block it or not. If that is
Right.
something hampering my quality.
As I said, if there are like too many spammy comments on your page, it may not be a very good user experience, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, you should definitely consider removing those comments. But on your website, if there are generally good comments all across and there are one-off cases of spammy posts, right, that will not affect your ranking in any way.
Oh.
But of course, if there, as I mentioned, if there are like tons and tons of spammy comments, and within those spammy comments we have, you have only like very few, 4 or 5 genuine comments, then generally it is not a very good user experience. And in the ranking as well, we may not want to present your website, because when users land up on your website, they see all those spammy comments, and yeah.
Okay.
And of course, like if it's like a standalone comments page and it's full of spam, in some cases we may even take manual action on those particular pages, because obviously like we don't want spam on to be indexed. So in those cases, you'll probably get like maybe a message in Webmaster Tools saying, sorry, Search Console.
Yeah.
You will get a message in Search Console saying, we found some spammy comments on, like, we found spammy user content, and please fix this. And in those cases, you can just remove those pages, or like fix the issue normally, so you can file for reconsiderations.
All right. All right. Thank you.
So we'll take our next question from Yogendra. What does Google think about page authority and Moz rank data given by Moz.com? So, like, not just Moz, but pretty much any external tools. If you think that data is useful and it works for you, like, yeah, I don't know what else.
Yeah, I think those are independent ranking systems. There may be many more out there. They have their own techniques to measure the authority, the rank, and things like those. But none of these is considered in the Google ranking signals.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, if you find it useful, use it. But like, obviously, for any official information or anything, you get everything from Search Console. I'd say, like, don't rely just on those, but also use them in conjunction with Search Console. Um, okay, I have a question from Ken. How does how does app indexing signals affect ranking of web pages which are connected with contents of app index page? So, like your website will be ranked normally, and we're just like showing relevant app indexing, relevant pages from your app when searching in mobile. So, I don't think it should affect it in any manner because it's the same page. It's sort of like canonical version, and only when you're searching in mobile, we're trying to give you a better experience. And another question, if a page uses app download interstitials which covers most of the screen, like example in mobile guide page, are contents behind the interstitial regarded as hidden contents or considered non-primary content? So not just this interstitial, but also like we've seen cases where there are huge pop-ups in mobile versions or in apps, and like that's not really a good user experience. But I don't really think it's considered as hidden content because users can see the content. They just need to uh, click the cross mark and they'll just see the content behind. But I wouldn't suggest you to use those. And like interstitials, if you have interstitials, I'd say remove the interstitial and just maybe a small notification on the top to install the app or something. But pop-ups and full page covering interstitials are not recommended. It gives a bad user experience, and we would like that's uh, generally not
Yeah.
recommended. Yeah.
And another thing to point out is, I mean, in general, interstitials, I mean, full screen interstitials are like not a very good user experience. And if at all, for a user, if there is no way for him to like see the content behind, except that he takes some action like putting in his email address or signing up for something or doing something, then that is definitely a violation.
Okay. Another question from Shailendra. My experience tells me that many webmasters leverage the authority of Wikipedia to game search results. How could we help Google to identify such cases, or is it Google good enough to catch it? So, I mean, if you have any examples, obviously, like we take our spam report tools very seriously. We do look at all the spam reports that we get. So, like, please submit there, or you can just raise up any issues in the forums also if you'd like it. Uh, any other questions?
Yeah, I want to ask
Sure.
a few more questions. So basically, this question is regarding the with this if modify since header. So I mean, just wanted to know, I mean, whether to implement this particular header or I mean just go with the 200 status. Okay. So
Sorry,
I
I
mean,
didn't get
we
the
are
last
the
part.
yeah. So the thing is, we are the media company, and it's like we frequently changes our content, and then basically it gets updated in within a minute or maybe within 15 minutes, something like so. So I mean, we are doing this if modified since header to these particular pages so that can Google can know. I mean that there's something changed in this particular piece of content. So I mean, we are just implementing it throughout this website and to our channels, other different verticals as well. So I mean, just want to understand, is it good to have certain things in technical device? I mean, to inform that particular bots that we have changed something to our content, Google can crawl that particular page more frequently.
Yeah, so I mean, like if you want to provide information that the page is changing frequently, that's always good. But of course, like the crawling frequency and all is automatically determined, and like
Yes,
just
if
don't
content
just
is
don't
changed.
100% expect like the frequency to go up or down based on that. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
think.
so see, one important thing to remember is like even if you like use fetches Google or something to just get Google to crawl a certain page, doesn't mean we'll index that particular page, right? So we'll just crawl it. But indexing is again another decision that we have to make based on like if the content has changed and all based on that. So like crawl frequency and all that, like we'll try and determine obviously based on how frequently content changes and all these. And so if you're providing that information, it's obviously good, but like there's no guarantees in it.
Okay, okay, cool.
We have a question from Kushal. Does Google favor plugins or tools available for SEO? If yes, then what are those tools? If not, then why people are using these tools? So plugins and for SEO, people generally use them to make their job easier. Like to like for certain comment plugins or spam plugins, you generally try and you implement them so that it makes their job easier and like not do the same manual stuff that people have already done. So basically, look at it like this. So if the plugins help you in in making your user experience better and all that, like go ahead and use it. Obviously, like whatever those plugins are doing, if they're trying to add links or violate any webmaster guidelines, then like we'd not recommend using those. But if it doesn't do that, if it doesn't violate any guidelines and it makes your job easier, then like, there's no reason not to use them. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, though a word of caution is whenever you're using plugins, make sure you're downloading them from authoritative sources, and that they are not infected by any malware or any hidden code and things like that that can actually potentially compromise your website.
Yeah, just make sure you don't violate any of our guidelines. Okay, we have another question. What's the fastest way to generate links? Build good content, do good PR. What else?
Yeah, by generating links, I believe you're asking about um, getting authoritative links to your pages, genuine links, right? Not just spamming purposes. So I think, as Ashish mentioned, I mean, if you can focus on your users and focus on building your brand, engaging with your users, and especially social media is a very, very powerful tool these days. So, and if you can create content that is easily shareable and encourage your users to do so, so there are so many things that can help you actually spread your content to different places on the internet and eventually end up in linking back to your pages. But I think your focus should not be generation of links. Rather, your focus should be how you can satisfy and cater to your users' needs, and that and the byproduct of that will be natural links back to your content.
Uh, any more questions?
Yeah. My next question is something regarding to this search console, the Google's new search console, basically. So just want to understand this. We have seen this lots of error that is not existing on website anymore, but I mean that particular console is still highlighting these particular issues. We have just marked them as a fixed, and then I mean they're still just coming up again and again. So I mean, is there any way to diagnose or something like that, we can check actually that whether we actually having these particular errors, or I mean this is something like Google is like it's delayed in something in updating that particular errors list.
Yeah, so I think basically you're asking about 404 pages.
Yeah, it's mostly crawl errors and maybe soft 404s, and sometimes it's 404s redirect sometimes, and the other errors as well.
Yeah, and as you said, these pages really don't exist, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think if the pages don't exist, then there is not much to worry about these errors. Eventually, they will fade off your search console, right? So there may be some links which Googlebot is trying to crawl and finding your pages, and it is encountering these errors, which it will eventually realize and drop those pages from crawling and indexing, and the messages will also eventually disappear from your search console. So there is nothing much to worry about those.
All right.
Of course, if you have some broken links within your website, that will be a good idea to fix, because it is not just about crawlers, but it is also about your users. It may be a frustrating experience for them if they are clicking on a link and finding a 404 page. So you may definitely want to fix those and whatever links are in your control. But otherwise, if there's something linked to from other websites that you don't control, then I think just you can just ignore those.
Okay, fine.
We have a question from Shailendra. So you're basically asking how to, sort of implement infinite scrolling. So it's basically just have to give us pagination related information, rel prev and rel next. So I've posted blog post in the chat, so like that basically explains the whole thing.
Okay, but
Yeah, I
what?
think there is nothing to worry about when you're doing these kind of websites. And Google is pretty good at crawling and indexing, except that make sure you're not blocking any of the related resources like CSS, JavaScript, and images and these kind of things from being crawled or accessed by Google bot. If you can ensure that, then I think there is not very much to worry about.
Yeah, you just
And if,
basically need to, like, when the JavaScript is disabled, like there are component pages, right? So you just have to make sure like Google sees them, can crawl them, and like understands that these are a series of pages, and like this is the first page, this is the second page. You need to just make sure like the pagination tags are implemented properly, and obviously JavaScript and all of that is not blocked either. That is mostly because of mobile, not for this, but yeah.
But what if I don't implement the pagination? I want the user to use the infinite scroll. How will Google build the theme around the pages? Because around a single page, because normally we have a number of pages in the website, and it is quite easy for Google to understand what each page is talking about and then index and rank it. But if we have a single page with infinite scroll, how will Google understand that these many keywords are being targeted, or when this page should rank or when it should not?
No, so you basically have, like, it is one page with infinite scroll, but when Google is saying when the JavaScript is disabled that helps this infinite scroll, you're basically saying that these 10 pages are, part of that one page, and you're basically saying that these are a series of pages, and when the user sees it, he sees this as one page. But when Google bot fetches, they see these as, like, component pages, like 10 pages, and we'll understand that these are just a series of pages, but that the user is actually seeing them as one.
Okay, so Google understands that it's a series of pages.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
So I mean, you need to provide the correct tags so that we understand.
okay.
Uh, Sayed, just want to ask related to this one. I mean, we have this similar kind of pages where we are just using for the page speed purpose, we are using lazy load images, or maybe that we are deferring the images. So I mean, does Google crawl these particular images, or I mean, whether that is actually getting crawled or they are actually indexing that particular piece of images that is comes with this lazy loading or the deferring part?
right, by lazy loading, I understand that you serve a low quality image first.
Yeah, I mean, that's something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the actual image later on.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, I think as far as I know, everything that is on your pages and all the images, they will be crawled,
Okay.
right, and indexed. And I think if somebody is explicitly searching for image search as image results, then these images will also show up in those results.
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
However, for the normal web search, they just don't affect anyway in your ranking.
All right. Right. Cool.
Okay. Ariful asks, how do you define great content? I mean, this is a very subjective question.
Yeah,
but,
I think in principle, great content has never changed, because great content is that which can satisfy your users, and there are different types of users with different types of information needs out there. So it depends on what type of users you're catering to, what kind of information they're looking at, right?
and how it's presented, obviously.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, for example, if a lot of users of your website are people with, accessibility issues, then what matters most to them is that the content is accessible, right? So that is the most important thing to them. And if you have a website which basically caters to audience that are basically that want to watch videos, say for example, then of course video is the best format for your website, because those are your target audience. So I mean, as Ashish mentioned, it's very subjective. So you need to define what great content is based on what users are you targeting.
So Ken has a question. I sometimes find answer boxes which are neither quoted from Wikipedia or similar databases. Does Google have original internal database for search use? So it's not just Wikipedia, but we pick up answers from quite a few websites, like as long as it's refuted. I think so. I'm not 100% sure about the sources, but you can also see answers from, say, ESPN. Like when you're searching for some like basketball related data, you want to see how many like rebounds a person took per game or in playoffs or something. You can generally see that information from ESPN, espn.go.com. And sometimes we provide information from Wikipedia. Sometimes it's from Freebase. So there are multiple sources. I don't know about any internal database, but it's not just Wikipedia that we use. We basically pick up information from quite a few websites. Okay, we are almost out of time, so if you have any last questions, we'll take them.
Yes, I do. So basically, we have this separate mobile site for our main website, basically our main website. So what's happening is like our different vertical website is getting indexed in web search. So we have placed this canonical alternate tag on our respective websites, but still, I mean, Google indexing the mobile version of my websites to the web desktop versions. So right, so
So if I'm understanding, so you have a mobile version and a desktop version,
yes,
and you've set up the canonicals correctly, saying this is the
yes,
alternate version of
yeah,
my page,
yes,
and both are indexed.
yes.
So that's fine, right? We like for when people are seeing the mobile version, we're
No, I mean just when I'm searching from the desktop version, I'm seeing my mobile version results in the desktop search.
okay. That's obviously not a good thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have a specific example, then it will be great if you could post that in our Webmasters forum, so we can actually take a look, because it will be pretty difficult without an example to see what's happening.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, we'll take this last question and then we'll wrap up. Thanks
I
for
have one
joining.
more question. One last question.
Okay, sure. Then Kushal has does a backlink from high PageRank sites still matter? If yes, then why Google didn't update PageRank from long time? So if you have a backlink from a high PR site, that's a good thing as long as it's not paid or anything. But PageRank is again it's one of like many 200 signals. So I say like really don't focus too much on that.
And I think what is not updated is the external toolbar PageRank. That pipeline is kind of not updated. But I think PageRank remains one of the 200 plus factors. As Ashish mentioned, it is one of the 200 plus factors. So it is not the only thing that matters, right? So though it is a factor, I think focusing too much on it is not a good idea.
Basically, like the PLDR is don't worry about links from high PR sites or low PR sites. Just focus on your content. Just spread your content via other social media or ads or whatever, and then see if certain pages are not ranking well, why they're not ranking well, fix the issues, and then just reiterate. Okay, Shailendra. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My question is a bit out of context, but still related to the website stuff. So, can I use any kind of software and application to track my website users? I mean, is there any scenario where I can be penalized for some unethical tracking? And if yes, could you please list some scenarios?
Uh, Generally, people have cookies and stuff in their websites. It's a pretty common practice. It's not really so for us, from Google search perspective, what happens in the background is not really of our concern. Like if you're hosting it on a cloud server or your personal server, that doesn't really matter for us. And if you're tracking our users, like we can't really see that. We don't know that you're tracking your users. So all we see is like content and links and how the users are looking at your website and all that stuff, right? So I'd obviously say if you think it's unethical, then you shouldn't do it. But cookies is it's a pretty common practice. All you need to do is like just have a disclaimer at the bottom of your site, so that shouldn't really be a big deal. But I'd say implement SSL. That's something that we are actively recommending. It's also a ranking signal, and that should really be it's should be a priority.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, what are some content guidelines that everyone should follow? I'd say everything that's in our webmaster guidelines. Those are like the prioritized ones that we made sure. So please look at our webmaster guidelines, and all the content guidelines under that, please follow that. Basically, around thin content, you shouldn't have thin content. You shouldn't have simple affiliate stuff without any actual user value additions. So just look at our webmaster guidelines, and if you have any doubts or anything, you can come back on one of our hangouts, or you can just post it in our forums. And we'll take this last question from Ken. Are there any plans to utilize Firehose data other than showing real-time tweets on SERPs?
I don't think we are aware of.
Yeah. So we'll announce anything whenever it comes up. So right now I'm not aware of anything.
Yeah, right now I think we are using it to show real-time.
So we are showing tweets on mobile.
Yes, on mobile searches, but yeah, other than that, I'm not really sure. Yeah, about the deal.
All right, thanks guys. I'm Ramesh, and I'm really thankful that you come in our hangouts and engage with us every time. So do post it in our forums, like whenever if you have any specific questions. And
Yeah, sure.
thanks again for joining us.
Yes,
See you.
thank you. See you soon.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.